11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think we're gonna win it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
Thanks to those joining me live and those that be joining me on the archive, D-Style here. If you're watching on the archive, make sure you hit the like button. Leave a comment. Tell me what you're thinking. Of course, hit that bell button. That way you're notified every time D-Style comes on live. As you already realize, it's at any time. It is what it is. What are you going to do? Also, make sure you follow me on Twitter. Same handle, D-Style Boxing. On Instagram, D-Style_boxing, right? If you want to follow me on there. I don't know if you guys have heard. I don't know if you quite have heard it yet. All right. But apparently Joseph Parker against Wardley is on pay-per-view. Like what? Why do we pay the zone for? Like, why are we over here, right, forking out our money to the zone if they can't even give us Joseph Parker for free? It's not even free. We're paying the subscription. What are we doing? Like, is this the business model y'all keep bragging about, right? We don't need these other people coming in. We already know what we're doing over here. Like what do we? Why is Joseph Parker on a pay-per-view against Fabio Wardley? What? Why? Who sat down and said, man, this is great. You know what we're going to do? We're going to put Joseph Parker on pay-per-view in the U.S. I saw Glacier say, it makes sense in the U.K. Does it? Oh, no, Wardley. Is it really? But I don't mean, whatever. The UK wants to pay for Joseph Parker on a pay-per-view. I remember making fun of the Australians. Joseph Parker was on pay-per-view over there on No Limit, right? And now they're putting him on pay-per-view over here in the US. Look, I can't. This is insane, bro. This is crazy. Like, I don't even know what we're paying for the zone for. It's we're paying for the zone so we can have the app on our phone, but like we still got to pay for the fights. Like, I mean, this doesn't make any sense, bro. So that's all I want to say about that. Shout out to Nando. How's it going, brother? Hope everything is good on your end. A couple of things. I want to touch on a couple of things here. So first of all right. I talked a little bit with Roberto Diaz, and it was a great conversation. Guys haven't already checked it out, make sure you check it out. We'll wait for this live to end first, of course, but we dove in on a lot of things, and I let him know how I feel about it. And I don't know, man. I heard Roberto Diaz repeat a lot of the same things I'm hearing other boxing people say. And it's a lot of the same old, right? Why are they coming in? Why do they want to change if we already have the system that we have? You're new to boxing. Who are you to come in and just make all these changes? And look, I'm not saying there's not some good points that come with that. Those are valid questions, of course. To me, the answer is very obvious. It's the model they want to use right? There's restrictions in the Ali Act, and they had to amend it, right? I mean, to me, that's the obvious like answer. You don't have to like it, but I just think people are acting like there's more to it than what there really is, right? I think people are. I think a lot of boxing promoters. I think there's even some fighters, especially like like the Paulie Malignaggi's. You got some guys that have given their thoughts on this stuff, like Roy Jones. Like there's guys that are like, hey man, you can't come in and just change stuff, and they want to come in because they want to rip off the fighters. That's why they want to do this, and I think that is the main concern many people have. But the question is this: is it a valid concern? Right? I saw the interview of Paulie Malignaggi with Ariel Helwani. I saw the interview that he had with Oscar De La Hoya as well. It's clear to me that Ariel Helwani wants people that are very anti of this change. It's someone who's going to give a counter narrative towards anything that TKO wants to do. Ironically, Paulie went off on Ariel, kind of accused him of being like a stooge for the UFC, and Dana, and he quickly corrected that, Ariel, but that was kind of ironic because Ariel Helwani, he's kind of trying to paint this in a very bad light, right? And it's prerogative. He could, Ariel Helwani could do whatever he wants to do at the end of the day. I mean, Ariel is going to be Ariel, whatever, right? What I want to kind of, I guess, emphasize, and what I want to kind of, ensure and hit home and make sure people understand is not everything is all hunky dory here in America with boxing. This sport has a lot of problems in this country. There's a lot of problems, period. Okay? We need some changes for the life of the sport. Now, I know everything people are going to throw at me because they've been throwing, like, I used to be one of these people. Boxing will never die. Like, nothing ever dies till it does, right? And while I don't think boxing will ever be completely dead, right? It can get sick, and it's been sick, right? Its structure has only depleted resources, and its structure has only led to the severe fall of popularity of the sport in this country. So here comes TKO, here comes Zuffa Boxing. I've never said they're going to be perfect. I haven't even said it's going to work. Whether it works or it doesn't work, we're going to find out. What I'm saying, it's worth a shot. But what is it with all the fans that I've talked to over the years? There's content creators that I've done panels with, and I've talked boxing with, and I've gone through their channels and everything. And so I remember, I have the memory of an elephant, right? I have a really good long-term memory. It's really good. Shout out to Bruce Goss. Thanks for the membership, brother. Right? And what I want to make sure here, and we're gonna have to. This is gonna be like an onion. We're gonna have to peel it like an onion, so that, and when you do that, unfortunately, people start crying. But it's inevitable. But we're gonna go here with layers. Okay, we're gonna go layer by layer. I hear you, Nando. Shout out to Bruce Goss with the membership. 63 months. That's a long time, bro. Right. Thank you for that support. Ed Woodson, also a member. Shout out to you, brother. All right. Nando's a member too. So there you go. So let's kind of, and you guys can let me know. Let me know what you think here while we kind of progress through this. While we kind of go step by step here. Let's kind of, you know, and I'm kind of in the same vein. I keeping an open mind. And so Nick Khan genuinely loves boxing, does he? I didn't know that, but okay. A couple of things. All these guys I've done like for years now. They've been doing nothing but complaining about the sport. Nothing. I've seen content old, and I'm sure you guys have been on YouTube for a while, right? You know this. Like there was a time when boxers didn't have podcasts and referees didn't have podcasts, and all the established media wasn't on YouTube. Okay, we were just regular dudes who just talking boxing. That's all we were, right? And all the same complaints were there's too many belts. The alphabet soup title belts. There's too many title belts. There's the rankings are all over the place. The rankings are shit. You know what I mean? The best don't fight the best. I'm going through like over 13 years of complaints that I've heard, right? And these promoters are snakes, they're bad people. I don't like that promoter, this promoter. And I seen boxing fans say some of the worst things about Bob Arum, right? Bob Arum, he's a slave driver, I've heard. I've heard he's a snake. De La Hoya is a rat. All these guys do is protect these fighters. They don't step them up. And the amount of fans that over the years have complained about the model of boxing, how it's confusing. There's too many belts. My friends don't even understand when I try to explain to them who the champion is. And I get asked why there's too many belts in the sport, and they give belts away like candy. And like for years, we've been listening and hearing all the complaining and the bitching and the whining about the promoters, about the sanctioning bodies. We be crooks, and the WBO's corrupt, and the IBF's corrupt, and they're fucking over these fighters. They're taking money under the table. There's corruption going on. They're putting people in rankings when they don't belong in the rankings. My sources told me this. I know this for a fact. And da-da-da-da-da. For years, we've been hearing how bad it is, right? Al Heyman just completely disregarding the Ali Act for years. He's like, Oh, but he won in court. Well, guess what? TKO's winning in Congress. Like they're winning with the commissions. So apparently, if you win the cases, you shouldn't complain, right? That's the president you said. And what have we noticed? Like I've been covering the sport. Like the popularity of the sport has been steadily. It has its peaks, it has its valleys, but there's been more valleys than peaks. Now, boxing is foul. Is it even a top 10 sport in America at this point? Keep in mind, this sport used to be one of the top 3 sports in America. Horse racing, baseball, boxing. And I'm not saying it's got to be in the top 5 or nothing, but is it even in the top 10? Is it anywhere to be seen? And it's very top heavy. Yeah, the guys at the very top get paid. But what about everybody? Is everybody else making big money? We have boxing fans out here acting like boxers just swimming in money. And they think all these fighters are all swimming in money. Oh, there's so much money coming in, so much money being generated, which, by the way, in America, there's not a lot of money being generated. It's also a sport that has, benefited from 2 things. One, the Mexican fan base. The Mexican fan base has kept this sport alive in North America. All right. The Latino fan base in general has kept the sport alive in the United States. I'm not saying that nobody else matters. I'm just saying they've kept it alive. And also, whether we want to hear it or not, whether you guys like this, we're here to speak the truth. All right. And it's not going to sound good the way I'm going to put it. Right. But this sport has benefited a lot in the last 2.5 years or so from charity from the Saudis. See, people think, oh, Turkey's coming in. Turkey is coming in. Yes, Turkey loves the sport of boxing. But the Saudis have funded most of all the fights that we like. Right? They have, again, I'm going to say some things that many people are not going to want to hear. But we're here to speak the truth. Okay? Turkey has overpaid for these fights. He's overpaid for them. How do we know that? We know that because they're in the red. These events aren't racking up money. They're not making money out of these events. I'm not saying because, again, people are going to get in their feelings. Right? So let me tell you what I'm not saying before somebody comes at me. Are you saying? I'm telling you what I'm saying. What I said is what I said, but people like to put words in people's mouths. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying that I didn't like the fights, that I don't appreciate the fights. I'm not saying that I didn't love finally seeing Undisputed at light heavyweight with, Bivol and Betterbeef. I love that fight. I love it. All right. I love the fight. I loved everything about it. Right. And I'm also not saying that I'm not glad the fighters didn't get paid. I'm glad the fighters are getting the bag. I'm not mad at the fighters for taking money and getting paid. And any opportunity that a professional boxer who puts their life on the line, who their body on the line and sacrifices so much, any opportunity a fighter has to make money, I'm all for that. Right? But I'm also a realist. And I'm also a truth teller. Right? Ladies and gentlemen, we have had the benefit of receiving charity from the Saudis. And you can take that however you want to take it. You don't have to like it. It is what it is. You don't have to like what I'm saying. Like Nando's in the chat who thinks he's not part of the show. I'm just in the chat. He's part of the show. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Now we're going to just feature Nando's chats a whole night. That's all we're going to do. He's part of the show whether he likes it or not. All right? I'm just in the chat. It's not like I'm part of the show. You're part of the show. So the reality is right now, the Saudis have come in like out of left field and have done something amazing for the sport. If you're a fan of the sport and you like fights, that I'm not complaining about. All right. However, I'm a realist. And I know that it's operating at a loss. They're not making money. Nando can say whatever he wants. When the Cowboys have a football game on Sunday, they make money. They're making profits. Right? Let me address this comment. Because no, that's not every sport. Boxing is not thriving like other sports, Nando. So let's not do this thing where we're like, oh, no, boxing's not fine. right? That's every sport. No, it's not. Not every sport is as unpopular as boxing, right? Way more people watch the NFL, as you mentioned, in college football. Way more people attend their events, right? They have a bigger fan base. Every single major sport is a money loser for TV broadcasters, right? So that's TV broadcasters. TV broadcasting in general, right, is not doing very good right now, right? Because less and less people have cable subscriptions, less and less people, more and more people, that is, are streaming on app devices, etc. Right? That's number one. Second, that's not necessarily true, right? So, I used to work for a major TV provider, right? And all these broadcasters from ESPN, well, you name it, got guaranteed money from the providers, right? Now that model has completely fallen apart, right? It's falling apart because of the dwindling numbers and cable, satellite, files, all that. Like, so it has fallen apart completely. However, the NFL itself, the entity of the NFL, while the players are making millions of dollars, the owners are still making millions of dollars every year, right? And right now, the NFL, I mean, what they sell in merchandise, what they sell in uh, ticket sales for the games, what they get for, like, they're making a lot of money in the NFL. Well, it's hard to be the biggest money loser, right? It's hard. It's very difficult to be a money loser when there's not a lot of interest in you, right? So it's just what it is. Back to my point. All right. Boxing is my concern here. It's not in a good place. All right. The issue I'm having with what you're saying, Nando, you're making it sound like that's every sport, so therefore it's all good. No, that's not what it is, right? If the Saudis tomorrow just said, like I heard Mario Lopez say this on the Three Knockdown Rule podcast. He said, I just have this feeling one day Turkey just decide, you know what, we're done. And then what do we do? Right? Boxing would be like, it would be in a very like, whoa, what the fuck? Right? No one had to come in and like hook up the NFL so the best teams start playing each other, and then for the players can actually make some money, and like that's not, and to get overpaid, and that's not happening, right? Boxing is in a very unique situation, right, where it's receiving complete charity from the Saudi regime in order for us to get the fights that we want to see. That point is very important, so we can all understand what's happening. And I know most understand that because I keep hearing all these boxing people saying things like, you know, what do we need to kill for? I mean, we're doing good right now. The Saudis don't care about making money like that. Like, just the way fans are just kind of being dismissive of the fact that we don't need to care about the events making money or not. And it's not even about caring; it's about understanding why has TKO shown up? Why are they here? Why are the Saudis investing here? I get that the Saudis are still investing with the other promoters. I get all that. But why invest in this new group coming in that wants to do a complete different model to the traditional promoters? What's up? Like, what's going on here? And what I will say is this. Well, I'll put it this way for you. One, I think The closer we get to the year 2030, I believe that the green light and the amount of money that Turkey's going to be allowed to be spending just on sports, it's not just boxing, it's a bunch of sports they're investing in. I think they're going to start to get a little stricter with the budget. All right. And people need to realize that while the GDP, it's a country that the Saudis have a high GDP, but they don't necessarily have like the level of a GDP of, like, let's say, the United States, right? So billions of dollars goes a long way, even for the Saudis. All right. And at the end of the day, this is investment money. So, of course, they knew they were going to operate at a loss in sports. People want to call it sports washing, or whether they want to, bring up the 2030 project, or whatever you want to bring up, right? My only concern is boxing. Okay? That's my only concern. All the other sports, if they get tired of them and stop funding those sports, whatever. I don't care. In fact, if they stop funding soccer, I don't even think it's going to be bad for soccer. Like, if anything, all the premier players that may be playing in Saudi are going to have to go back to the Premier League. You know what I mean? They'll lose Ronaldo, but Ronaldo could go play anywhere else in the world. Like the world of soccer will be fine, right? Golf, like, okay, they go back to the PGAs, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Like, boxing, though, is going to be a completely different story. Completely different. And boxing has been enjoying it. It's like boxers have been enjoying this getting spoiled by the Saudis, right? I mean, he's just throwing money, 100 million for Canelo and 40, 50 million for Crawford, and just millions upon millions for all these other cards, and all great boxing cards. I enjoyed them. If it was up to me, of course, we could keep it going forever. But I live in the real world, and it's not going to be forever. And there's an old saying, beggars cannot become choosers, ladies and gentlemen. You see, right now, boxing's been getting spoiled by Sugar Daddy. Sugar Daddy's giving all these boxers all these jewels and these, you know what I mean? Just think of that, like, that chick that just hooks up with the extremely rich motherfucker and gets her all these jewels and dresses and these gowns, and takes her out to these, this gives her this lavish lifestyle, right? Well, what's going to happen when someone comes in and says, hey, you're going to have to start working for this money, and you're not going to get anywhere near that amount? Of course, right? Of course, there's going to be a certain reaction to that. But what I want to let you guys know right now, there's no prenup here, guys. There's no prenuptial agreement. Like, you know what I mean? Or there is or whatever. It's the opposite. Whatever. Right? Like when the Saudis divorce, in other words, when the Saudis divorce, it's not like these boxers could demand anything from the Saudis. Oh, hey, you can't just leave us like that. Oh, you owe us. They're not going to get alimony. Like, you think boxing's going to get out? Like, these boxers going to alimony? If the Saudis decide to, it could be completely just abandon the sport. It could be cut funding dramatically from the sport. They're already cutting funding from soccer. I think it's like half of the funds cut, right? It's kind of out of control when you think about it. The fact that Crawford on camera said he was in a room for 8 hours negotiating the fight, and Turkey wasn't allowed in the room because they feared Turkey was going to give him too much money. Listen to, like, just think about that. Crawford's in a room for like 8, 9 hours negotiating, and they wouldn't let this dude in the room because they feared he's going to give Crawford everything he wants. But let those same people tell you, oh, the Saudis don't care about making money. Oh, the Saudis have unlimited funds. They don't care. It's an endless pit of money. I told you there's no endless pit of money. It's a lot of money, but it's not endless. And let me tell you something. Everything is fight night in life. And no one does things for no fucking reason. Nobody. This has become a sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship. Is what it's become. That's what it's become. Shit, Nando coined it, but yet Nando wants sadly every sport is going through the same thing. Not true. The Saudis can have no involvement in the NFL. Guess what? The NFL will be just fine. It's part of the show, whether it likes it or not. Endless pit of money. Oh, the Saudis don't care about losing money. Give me a fucking break. All right? You think, bro, everybody cares about losing money, bro. Everybody. Right? Every single person. Right? Think of it this way. Right? Think of it like, think about the money you make for a second. Just think about it. Like whatever you make, just think about it. Right? If you go to the store and you decide you want to buy a lollipop, whatever, right? Or a popsicle, you're expecting to pay less than $1, right? And the cashier says, oh, that's going to be $10. Look, in the grand scheme of things, maybe $10 isn't a big deal to you. It's only $10. Of course, you can afford it, right? Like, are you going to pay that though? Now I know Turkey is like a childhood friend of the Saudi prince, right? But given that they're spending so much money on so many sports, and boxing is just one of those sports, like you don't think at some point they're gonna be like, yo, either cut it completely or start making some cuts, right? And I think the fact that you have a professional boxer sitting in a room for 9 hours negotiating like sums of money that they know for a fact they can't fucking generate. I mean, I think shows you like how where we are at this point. The fact that they were keeping Turkey away from the room tells you they're already well aware that Turkey has tendencies to overpay and pay too much money to certain fighters. Does he likes them personally or because I mean I don't know if Crawford believes he's like his best friend. Like, bro, like I get the guy's paying a lot of money, but like just saying. So why am I saying all that? Why is all that relevant? Because I know that's the question a lot of people are having in the back of their mind right now. Like, okay, D style, well, let's say I agree with you. What the fuck does it got to do with TKO? Right? Just like in that soccer league, they cut the fundings. That's what they're going to do with boxing. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. All right. But what the boxers need to understand is that they've been getting overpaid now. I don't think the boxers understand that. I just don't. I don't. I saw Paulie Malignaggi on the interview with Ariel Helwani, and he's talking about like Crawford being a puppet. But he actually called Crawford a puppet. He's a puppet. He called Canelo a puppet. They're puppets. Yeah, they're paying them what they rightfully deserve. And yeah, right now the side of the paying the fighters what they rightfully deserve. And to me, I never liked the word deserve with boxing. Right? I think you deserve whatever you can get. And if somebody offers you the bag, get it. That's always been my motto. right? But, you know, I love Canelo and Crawford, but do they really generate like combined like the money that they were paid? I don't know, but I get they were in a stadium. It was a big event. It was on Netflix, but did that event make money? Well, what they had to pay Canelo Crawford? Well, what do you care? What do you care about the like? This matters so you understand why TKO is coming in. You see, Paulie almost got it. Paulie said, "Yeah, you know, I mean, they're paying these guys now, but then you know the amateurs are going to turn pro. They're going to get signed by TKO. They're going to get screwed over with the money that they're going to get paid." And the reality is this, guys. The Saudis came in with a shitload of money. They spent a shitload of money. They turned the promoters into their puppets because they're the puppeteer here, right? They created a sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship between Turkey and the fighters. Think about it. All that was to create control. Turkey now, as I accurately predicted, you know, he ended up buying the Ring magazine. He's controlling part of media. He's controlling part of the promotional aspect. And he's got a lot of the fighters in his good graces, right? And I'm not even arguing that's good, that's bad. Like, I'm not arguing any of that. But what I'm telling you guys is that there's always a reason in life behind somebody being too good to you. There's always motives and end goals to something. Always. Why is TKO coming in? Because the current model is not a model that is sustainable. It's not a long-term sustainable model. Overpaying fighters over a long period of time is not sustainable. It was doable because the Saudis came in with a lot of money. But if you create a culture where guys are sitting in rooms for 9 hours demanding more money, where you can't even let Turkey in the room because he'll end up giving them the more money, you know they're already aware of this problem. You know that. So they want to invest into a model that they feel is going to work better. And let me ask you, as a fan, some San Pellegrino. I freaking love this mineral water. But I'm trying to make sure, like, guys, for years. So I'm coming full circle here. Back to my point from the very beginning. For years, you've been complaining that there's too many belts, that the ranking system is making no sense, that the sanctioning bodies are corrupt, that these promoters are snakes. These promoters protect fighters for way too long. They marinate fights forever. We don't get the fights when we want them. You know, and you've almost forgotten that you complain about all those things because the Saudi money came in for the last 2 years and funded all the great fights we got. Now, they paid a lot of money to do it, made no money in these events, as Turkey as himself has admitted, right? Even a lot of you admit, oh, Saudi, they don't care about making money, right? You've completely forgot about everything you were complaining about. Now, we still have the problem. Like, the last few weeks have been kind of to be honest with you, right? I'm already feeling like there's a little bit of a pullback already with a lot of this shit. I want you to think as a fan for a moment. I get why Paulie may talk a certain way, Roy Jones may talk a certain way. I get why fighters may talk a certain way, but I want you to start thinking as a fan for a second. Because all these podcasts that fighters run, that former managers and all this other stuff, they're going to talk a certain way because that's their perspective. You need to stop thinking like a manager. You need to stop thinking like a promoter. You need to stop thinking like these fighters. You need to start thinking as a consumer and a fan is what you need to start talking about and thinking about. You do that with every other thing in your life. Everything. I guarantee you, everything else in your life, you think like a consumer. If everything now, you don't go to the restaurant, right? Order what you want and get and not be given that whatever you ordered and then understand and put yourself in their shoes, right? When you're the one paying. If you go to the restaurant and say, you know what? Give me a New York strip. I want a medium rare. I want some, give me like a loaded potato, baked potato. I want it loaded, sour cream, the little crumbs with the bacon, the whole nine. Like I want the whole thing. Okay, all right. And then and some mac and cheese on the side too. And you know what? Bring me a Caesar salad first, right? If you order that, that's what you're expecting, right? And they come back and they bring you the house salad, or they bring you soup, right? You're not going to say, well, you know what? I mean, I understand. I mean, the chef and the restaurant, they know how to run a restaurant. Who am I to tell them, right? And they bring you the steak, and it's not medium rare. It's well cooked, right? Hey, waiter, hey, man, I asked for this medium rare. No, you need to understand, Mr. Customer, that we have a business to run here. And who are you to tell the professional, the chef, how to cook the steak for you? What, are you a chef? Like, do you understand what it took to make that? This chef is a professional, what he does. Who are you to tell him, right? You would not in any way, shape, or form take that. You know you wouldn't. All right? In anything else in life, you guys know how to behave like consumers. But when it comes to boxing, you don't behave like consumers. You don't behave like fans, right? Start thinking like fans, all right? Now, like I said from the beginning, I don't know if this TKO thing's going to work. But I've heard the criticisms, and a lot of the things I'm hearing, the reality is you don't have many options. All right? Like, you don't have a lot of options, bro. Period. Top Rank doesn't have a deal. If the Saudis invest their money into TKO instead, and more money starts getting invested into the TKO product rather than the traditional model, what are you going to do about it? You can tell Sugar Daddy what to do with his money. Well, Don, I don't care if you don't think it's suitable or not. It was just the point about being a consumer. That's all. At the end of the day, we're consumers. That's it. That's what we are. So I don't know if the TKO thing's going to work or not, right? But I know the things that I'm hearing from fighters and managers and the business people in the sport, right? This shitty ass business that they've run to the ground. Non-impressive people that have not done a good job with the business because the business is dwindling and dependent on charity money from the Saudis. So apparently they're not really good at the business. Apparently they're not really good at that. All right? Because they're getting charity money. It is what it is, right? If Sugar Daddy says, well, I'm spending money over here with TKO, well, what are you going to do about it? Oh, but the percentage, most of the money should go. Like, who are you to say what percent? It's the Saudis' money. Oh, that model won't work because if everyone in the league's fighting each other, they're going to have losses on their record, and the fans, they're not going to buy that. You need to have a padded record in boxing. In order for the fans to buy that, you need to develop these fights. You got to sell these guys. They got to be like 19-0 before you step them up. Like, I don't know. I've heard boxing fans and former fans of the sport complain that that's the problem. That's what they don't like. They don't like the overprotection, the over marinating, the padding of records, and dudes fighting like 7 bums before they finally step up. That's what fans don't like about the sport. Oh, the fan, you have these fighters coming out like Paulie Malignaggi saying things like, "Oh, the fans, they're not going to buy these fights, man," or into these fighters they have losses in their record, and this is why it's important for you to act like a fan. We're supposed to be telling them what we like, not the other way around. We're supposed to tell them, hey, I don't give a fuck if a dude gives me great fights, I'll watch. Yes, he has 3 losses on his record, I'll still watch the guy. If he's fighting tough opposition, time in, time out, that's what I want. I want the best to fight the best. I don't want the O's to be protected. I don't want guys to, if they just have 1 loss or whatever, pat the record. That's what we don't want as fans. That's what I've been hearing for years. That's what we don't want. I've been hearing for years that, the protecting of the O, these guys aren't stepping up, and like, that is the problem. Who the fuck is Paulie to tell the fans what the fans want? Oh, the fans aren't going to buy that because the fans want the fighters to get paid. Let me tell you something. I want good fights. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want good fights. I want these fighters to get more active, bro. I'm not saying they got to fight every month, right? But like this once every 15 month shit, like I don't care for it, right? More activity, more often, and if fighters are they're not making $100 million paydays anymore, but they're making $3 million, bro. Like, that's not my concern. It's not. That's not my concern. It just isn't. And very few are actually getting paid like that. The vast majority, 99.9% of fighters don't make this crazy amount of money you guys are defending and trying to keep in the sport. They don't. All this, look at the UFC, what they pay their fighters. Just go look at the fight logs. Go look at any non-Saudi funded boxing card and look at the undercard. Look what they're getting paid. Like, what are we doing? I don't want the system that Austin Deloy is advocating for, where we're the promoter. We pick the fighters and then we groom them and we develop them. And then in the future, then we have them fight other developed fighters to make these mega fights, right? Because I don't want the promoter to foresee the future and pick somebody and try to manifest that dude to become champion in the future, right? Look, you could, I'm not saying you can't try to do that, but I don't want that to be the model. What I want the model to be is exactly what they say the problem is. Oh, you don't put top prospects against other top prospects because why? You know what I mean? You have to wait and marinate and build it up. Like what are we doing? I don't want to protect the fighters. I don't care if they have losses in their record and the fights are tough on the way up. I don't care about that. I just want the best to fight the best, and I want to see the whoever the best is come out on top. That's what I want. All right. So it's like this is like what like, and they're saying it to your face. These promoters are literally saying it to your like. Austria literally sat there and was like, yeah. They had these contenders fighting each other. It's dumb. Why would you do that? You got to protect them. Like you have to, match them up properly, and then you do the fights later on. Like, no, like fuck that shit. Actually, nah. I don't want the pathway to the top to be easy for some fighters and harder for other fighters and impossible for others. All right. We have talent out there that isn't getting their opportunity, isn't getting their shot. All right. We have guys out there waiting for their opportunity and they're not getting it because they're not handpicked by these promoters. Right. What can the league bring us if it's successful? Right. If we can get good fights, don't tell me losses doesn't mean you can't be a star. Like Arturo Gatti was a fucking star. Okay. Pacquiao had multiple losses. That motherfucker was a star. Like so you could spare me all that. Ricardo Mayorga had losses. Guess what? He was a star. So you can spare me all that shit. A lot of guys are morphing into the things that you hated. You've hated these promoters for years. You hate all these belts for years. You hate the Mauricio Suleimans for years. You know of all the fucked up shit they've done, how they screwed over fighters and rankings, and you've been complaining about it for years. And now here you are, put on the white armor and defending this system for a couple of dozen fighters that are making big money, and for these sanctioned organizations that are taking a tax on these fighters at 3%. 4 sanctioned bodies, that's 12% of a fighter's purse. Like you're here defending that, right? Seeing the blatant corruption that they've been involved in. All I know is that if there's a league and it has funding, it has a TV deal, right? And they sign like the way Oscar was acting in that Era Hawani interview, like they're gonna sign 300 fighters. Who are they gonna sign? Right? What are you worried about? If they sign guys that don't have a promotional deal, no one is giving them an opportunity worth of shit, and have a platform, they get their break, then fuck it. Right? If it gives more opportunity to guys, then that's what we should do. Right? That's just the way I feel about it. If the league can get you the fights you want, and you enjoy the fights, and it gives opportunity to guys that are not getting the opportunity right now, then what are you against exactly? I'm all for it. I want to see what they got. And I'm going to be right here to criticize it if it's fucked, if it sucks. I'm going to be right here, as I always am, to call balls and strikes. I'm going to be right here to say, you know what, this shit ain't working if it's not working. But what I'm not going to do is come with conclusions, right, before it even gets off the ground. And what I'm not going to do is get in my feelings and be like, oh, well, Dana White, he's an asshole. Like these people in boxing are assholes, right? The stories I've heard of the fucked up shit some of these snakes in the boxing world have done to fighters, right? I don't have a sympathy for these people, right? So if another snake comes in, but that snake is giving us great fights, that's what I care about as a consumer. I care about my steak. That's what I care about. I care about my steak being medium rare. How I want it. I want good fights. I want fighters to get opportunities. The ones that aren't getting their opportunities. Right? Imagine the story of the guy that nobody picked up, nobody saw, right? And he makes it up the ranks in TKO, and let's say he becomes a Zupa champion. Then he fights for the ring belt and he wins that fight. Just imagine that story. The traditional models are going to be there, guys. It's not going anywhere. The traditional models are going to function in the United States with the Ali Act, TKO, and it's not, right? So just think about it that way, right? With that said, guys, I'll leave you with that. It is what I understand is that there's a defense mechanism. Dudes want to put on their white knight suit and defend these scum of the earth that you guys have been calling scums of the earth for years, right? Well, you go ahead and do that. Okay, fine. It is what it is. So me, give it a shot. If it gives us great fights, if it gives us action fights, if it discovers new fighters out there, right? You guys over here, concerned about the percentages and the UFC fighters, they don't get the percentage. Well, these MMA dudes they get nowhere near the attention nor the buying capacity, right? When they're outside of the UFC. The UFC brand and the way it was built, right, from nothing, is the reason there's so much attention in the UFC, right? I'm not saying the fighters don't deserve a bigger percentage. I'm not saying that at all. And I also don't like the fact that they're not allowed to use their sponsorships. I have a lot of criticisms, right? Out of all the things I've heard people say, the one thing they haven't brought up is the sponsorship thing, right? That's not going to fly in boxing. It's not, right? Like, oh, you can't have your sponsorship. Like, that's not going to fly. Unless you replace it with a really good sponsorship. But that's a different story. I haven't heard people complain about that one. But there's going to be things to critique and all that. It's going to happen. But, hey, man, the way I see it, I think it's going to open the doors. And I firmly believe that there's a lot of talent out there that hasn't been picked up because I know about some of them. They haven't picked them up. Big promoters won't invest in them because they don't think they look like a star. They don't see dollar signs. If anything, there's some fighters that are too good for their own good. They're too dangerous, but they don't look marketable, right? Now, this guy, he's marketable, right? Like, this dude's marketable, right? We're not going to put him in the ring with that guy. That guy's too dangerous. And that's considered smart. And yeah, boxing fans repeating his nonsense. Yeah, that's smart. You don't put him in there with a tough opposition that could have ruined and derailed the whole thing. This guy could be a future star. So you have to protect him and develop him and keep him away from guys like that. That dude's not marketable, but he's too dangerous. Keep him away, right? Nah, bullshit. Bullshit. shit, is what I say. All right? Well, that's it. That's all I got. I'm out, guys. Peace.